Boozed and Confused is a comedy and weird topic podcast. Adult language may be used, probably by me. While our episode topics may be educational in nature, we are not responsible if your children start dropping the F-bomb to their kindergarten class. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, everybody.
Well, top of the morning to you on this fine Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day, or the day after Valentine's Day, which could also just be called Valentine's Day Candy Clearance Day.
Best day.
There you go.
Honestly, I was out shopping last night,
Yeah.
the day before Valentine's Day, and they already began the sales.
Yeah, naturally. So, well, welcome back to another episode of Boozed and Confused. I'm Carolanne.
This is Matt.
And, yeah, it's a shit pod. So if it's your first time, welcome. If you're returning, you already know how shit it is, and you hopefully have no expectations.
If it's your first time, what
What
brings you around?
here?
If it's your second time and after, what are you still doing here?
Yeah, we just wrapped up dinner. We've had a couple drinks, and
We've had lots of food.
yeah, hopefully it's a good episode, but we'll see. I actually had all of this ready to record on Sunday, but I'm kind of happy we procrastinated.
It's my
bit.
love language is procrastination.
Yeah.
actually.
Only because there's in the last couple of days been more updates to the story. So I'm happy.
Right.
Yeah.
The story.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one.
It's not the George Santos episode yet because there's a new update about that every fucking week that I feel like maybe we do like an in memoriam episode when all of that is over.
In the arms of the angels.
For just 5 cents a day, you can help save George Santos's career.
Buy him a wig.
All right. Well, we're going to get into it, but before we get into it,
We have some housekeeping things.
you know the drill. The first is we're on all your favorite social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. And you could DM us on any of those platforms, but really Twitter for now and Instagram are the ways to go. So appreciated. If social media isn't really your thing and you still want to send us a message, you could send us an email at boozedandconfusedpodcast@gmail.com. Yeah. Sounds great.
I don't have the password to it. I have a guess on what it is.
Yeah.
You keep saying like, oh, if we get rid of Twitter. Look, Daddy Musk just DM'd me asking for some Amazon gift cards so I can get Twitter verified for us.
Yeah, that's how they're accepting the blue check verifications. You just have to pay for their rent for their downtown building in San Fran.
Yeah, you just gotta send them some Amazon gift cards.
Yeah, there you go. Super easy. If you like the pod and you want to support us, the best way that you could do that is by leaving a review and or subscribing, following, whatever you want to do. And if you take a screenshot and send it to us, we'll send you some Boozed and Confused stickers in the mail for free. Wait, hold on. I have to say, if we've sent you stickers recently and you haven't actually received them, please let us know, because I think I'm not going to say that we have mail theft going on, but I will say people we've sent mail to recently of like weight heavier than just a standard card have not gotten their mail. So methinks maybe, I don't know, somebody was like, ooh, maybe this has some Amazon gift cards in it going to Daddy Musk.
Yeah.
So yeah, just let us know and we'll happily send you 10,000 more stickers.
I'll print out your screenshots, take them to my dartboard, and start throwing some darts at your kind words.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's my love language.
And the last one is, what are you drinking?
It's wine. What kind is it?
A red wine.
It's red.
It's a Pinot Noir.
No, it's a Cabernet.
No, this is a Pinot
It's
Noir.
a nice Chianti.
For anyone else who was just attacked by the audio from Matt.
Puts the lotion on the skin.
For the record, apparently it's a Silence of the Lambs reference.
Put the lotion in the basket.
But I just feel personally
Put the lotion
attacked.
in the basket.
So, All right, we should probably just get into
What
it.
are you drinking?
This is, oh, fuck. I'm drinking a Smithwicks Red Ale.
There you go.
And I will have 4 sips of this and then dump the rest out probably
You'll dump
as
it
I
into
go
the
to bed
sink, which
in
is
about
me.
an hour.
I'm the sink.
Yeah.
Dump it into me.
Yeah, so cheers. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
This is my love language.
Yeah. Okay, great. So this week we are going to talk about this train derailment that happened in Ohio.
I thought we were talking about the balloons.
We're not going to talk about the balloons. Very brief update from today about the unidentified flying objects that were shot down, aside from the first one of the Chinese spy balloon. The last 3 that were shot down were allegedly deemed to be private in nature, so probably not aliens and probably not from a foreign government, but...
So... if we're not doing the balloon, we're not doing like the island.
What island? Oh, Jeffrey Epstein's
The Epstein Island.
Court documents were just released today, and it showed
there was 2,000 pages released.
Yeah, I have not had
we didn't
time
get through that
to
yet?
go through those. So
man.
we're also not going to do that today. But what we will do today is the train derailment that happened in Ohio earlier this month in February. Either you heard about it initially and haven't really heard updates since, or if you're like me, you've been getting every update that's been happening since this has come out from outside of just mainstream media, if you will.
Right. This is a pretty quiet story.
It's
quiet for as serious as it seems. It does seem pretty quiet,
in my opinion. Now, I did put my tinfoil hat on before we sat down. In my opinion, I do feel like this is a cover-up in the making. I truly feel like 20 years from now, we're going to see, lawsuits.
American Chernobyl.
Pretty much. Like, cancer rates are going to skyrocket in the area. I think the environmental effects of what is happening are really yet to be known or seen. And I have a lot of reasons for why I think that. I'm not just speculating with, out of my ass. I am speculating out of my ass, but with reason, within good reason.
We bought these microphones so we can do that.
Yeah, that was my tax write-off for 2020 is these microphones for business. Just kidding. IRS, don't come
Business
after me.
is booming.
All right. So if you don't know the full details around this train derailment, I will just very quickly fill you in. So it's outside of East Palestine, Ohio, which is very close to the Pennsylvania border. If you're not good at American geography like I am, because I'm an American, Ohio and Pennsylvania border each other. So
they do.
They
do. Well done.
That was a reminder to myself from 4th grade. So this train had 50 cars. It derailed 9 p.m. Eastern, Friday, February 3rd. And it was just a whole plethora of products. It was coming from Madison, Illinois to Conway, Pennsylvania. So almost there.
So close.
But this train was owned by Norfolk Southern. So if that sounds familiar to anybody, it's probably familiar because of the rail strike that was threatened late 2022. They were one of the big players involved in that. And we'll get into that in a little bit.
They were so close to getting what they wanted.
I
think they did a little.
Well,
they got some stuff.
It's heavily debated at this moment.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah.
So
under debate.
Here's the cool thing. More than the 100 cars that were part of this train, 20 of them had hazardous materials that they were carrying. Now, what does hazardous materials mean?
It shouldn't go in your eyes or in your mouth.
Yeah.
Or on your skin.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
And you have to go to the little eyeball shower
yeah,
thing
yeah,
in
and
your
they
high school
clean your
science
eyes out.
classroom with the water from 1980.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think those are going to help you in this cleanup situation here, but this is any kind of cargo that could pose danger, like flammables, combustibles, environmental risks. 14 cars carrying vinyl chloride were involved in the derailment and were exposed to fire. So at least one was releasing the contents, of the car through a pressure release device as designed. I guess, for emergency
Well, glad it was working at
situations.
least.
So as this is all unfolding, village officials were like, hey, you know what? You might hear explosions because of the fire. You've probably seen the very apocalyptic pictures coming from this scene of like the big plume of smoke and fire and...
Oh, it's not that bad.
It's
It's just little smoke clouds. It's like, okay, just a small fire. This is under control. Everything's fine. How are you?
No. Everything is fine here. And it was so fine, in fact, that they were like, hey, you're drinking water? It's totally fine. Even though, it started becoming discolored because of the amount of water that was being pumped to fight the fire. So it was like having an effect on...
Was it?
Yes.
Also, weren't all the fish kind of having a bad time?
Yeah, spoilers. We're going to get there. But like... kind of leading into that, some runoff from that was detected in streams, and rail officials were like, no, guys, we got it. It won't go any further downstream. We're all good.
Yeah, even though it's in the water, it's not going to move.
Yeah, no.
It's chill. It's going to dilute. It's like when you pee in the pool, it just dilutes.
It's just out of sight, out of mind.
It's a victimless crime.
Yeah. So the initial evacuation area, because they did put an immediate evacuation notice out, it was like 1,500 to 2,000 of the town's 4,800 to 4,900 residents. It's not really clear how many people were affected or like how many people actually left. Crews obviously had to go door to door telling people to leave the evacuation zone. But there was an official statement that the governor's office put out that said the vinyl chloride contents of 5 rail cars are currently unstable and could potentially explode, causing deadly disbursement of shrapnel and toxic fumes. To alleviate the risk of uncontrollable shrapnel from an explosion, Norfolk Southern Railroad is planning a controlled release of the vinyl chloride at approximately 3:30 today. Okay, so that was the rail crash happened Friday night, so I assume this was Saturday, February 4th, if I remember correctly. So officials put out this map that was like, very...
You are here.
Yeah.
Danger over here.
Pretty much.
Everything's fine over here.
Yeah, it was, pretty much. So this map had like a red zone on it and a yellow zone, and it was like downwind from where the burn was happening. So they were like, hey, if you're in this red zone, you will be exposed to deadly toxins. And anyone in the yellow zone, you might be exposed to deadly toxins. Like you might have skin burns and lung damage. Just really buried the
it might happen. We don't know.
So vinyl chloride kind of sounds like a little bit of a buzzword.
Yeah, vinyl reminds me of like music, and chloride reminds me of like sodium chloride.
Yeah. So I didn't do very good in my science classes or my math classes for that matter. I'm much more the other side of the brain that's like the artsy fartsy side. So let's do a little... What the fuck is vinyl chloride?
Ooh, I'm actually really intrigued by it. What is vinyl chloride?
All right. It turns out vinyl chloride is actually really common.
Is it?
It's used to make the polyvinyl chloride hard plastic resin that we use in a lot of our plastic products. So it's a pretty common material, apparently. But for as common as it is, it's also a known carcinogen. So you could have like, I don't know, increased risks of liver cancer. Who needs a liver? You only have one of those, right?
What's this show called?
What's
this show called?
I don't know.
We need it.
I'm sure we'd be fine. So the CDC warns that breathing vinyl chloride over long periods may be connected to this feels like it's going to be one of those fucking Jesus, what is it? Like the medicine commercials, the prescription commercials.
You're right. It's
like somebody out playing in a field and they're happy dunky dory.
Taking this drug will make you want to die, and your eyeballs will bleed, and also your pets won't like you anymore.
Your family will reject you for who you've become. Yeah, for any of the Europeans listening to this podcast, or really just anybody outside of the U.S.
And New Zealand.
Thank you
very much. Unified. What up?
You should look up what the American prescription commercials look like, because it's kind of fucked up.
They're a little funny.
It's just so dystopian and bizarre. Very bizarre. So, Anyways, this next blurb is kind of reminiscent to me about what that sounds like.
Let's go.
So the CDC warns that breathing vinyl chloride over long periods may be connected to brain cancer, lung cancers, some cancers of the blood. But what we know about how this chemical affects people is from people who have been exposed through it a long period of time. So like workers, for example, kind of if you think about the workers who used to work in the asbestos mines and then bring it home to like their families who were also exposed daily, it's not really known how asbestos like interacts or impacts like homeowners who are doing one DIY project and then come up with asbestos.
Right. And of course we forget about the munchkins from the Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah, they're all fucking
rolling
dead.
In the snow.
Yeah. That snow in Wizard of Oz, all asbestos, pure asbestos.
The graphics were so great, considering how old the movie was.
Yeah, so we don't really know or have enough data to understand how this kind of like sudden release of vinyl chloride is going to affect people that live nearby, or how the decision to like burn the vinyl chloride in the way that they did is going to affect its dispersal. So the EPA said that it's monitoring two other chemicals. The first one is hydrogen chloride. The second one is phosgene.
Yep, no idea.
I just looked up how to pronounce this before this episode, so I hope that's right. Any of my science friends listening to this, no, you're not. And so they were saying that those chemicals may also be released into the air by the controlled burn, which is not great either, because apparently phosgene was used as a weapon in World War One. It's a highly toxic gas that can lead to choking, chest constriction, and in the most acute exposures, even possibly death.
You mean like mustard gas?
Yeah, probably.
Because that became a war crime. You can't use that anymore.
Yeah, no.
There's rules to war.
Yeah, we have rules now. We're not complete barbarians. Hydrogen chloride has a pungent odor, can irritate the nose, throat, and skin. ENTs are going to have a hell of a time in this area, probably.
Business will be booming.
What's also interesting, an update that I just read about a day or two ago, is that the East Palestine Fire Department had to pretty much throw out all of their equipment after responding to this.
Wow.
They lost their air packs, their bunker gear. Their trucks had to go through a decontamination process. And it's not like you can go to the corner store and buy all the shit that you need to be a fireman.
Just got to go to the fireman's store.
Yeah, just go to the fireman's store.
That's actually... I've never seen a fireman's store before.
Because there is no fireman's store. There's no like, oh, go get your fireman gear here. At least not in this area, which is shocking.
Considering where we live.
Yeah. But
everyone's a firefighter down here.
Everyone's a fireman. Everyone and their uncle. So a lot of the shit they have orders for right now, and companies are trying to expedite those orders to put them to the top of the list so they can get some gear. Other fire departments are donating some of their extra gear or just any surplus that they have so that this fire department isn't just completely, boned for not having any gear. But yeah, how fucking crazy is that? Boned? They're not going to get fucked. What do you want me to say?
Burn.
You can't go
burned.
Fight fires without any fucking firefighting equipment. So they're fucked.
They're going to get burned.
All right, that's the end of this podcast.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. So like we were mentioning, they were saying like, oh, controlled burn is the way to go. Which like, okay, again, I don't know shit about science. I don't know shit about the EPA. I don't know shit about shit.
I know about controlled burns.
I don't know anything about controlled burns. I'm sure that a controlled burn is probably a more predictable outcome than just being like, well, let's just see if it explodes. And then what happens if it actually explodes? You've no idea.
It becomes like a wildfire. It's like, a controlled burn. The beauty of a controlled burn is that it's
you
controlled.
Control it. Very insightful on this podcast. We are. You see, a controlled burn is controlled.
I am 9 and very badass. I am very smart.
Oh my god. So they did this control burn. They said at least the good news is that the burn went as planned. But they said, no concerning air quality or water quality readings have been detected. That's according to the Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro. That was Monday night, so that would have been I don't know, recently.
What's today? Today's Tuesday.
I don't know. It's not yesterday, Monday.
Oh,
it's, I believe, last week.
Okay, yeah. So it's been a minute. Good news, everyone. Everything is fine.
But he also continued, for now, out of an abundance of caution, Pennsylvanians who live within 2 miles of East Palestine, where this derailment occurred, should just continue to shelter in place this evening and keep your windows and doors shut. So for anyone who lives in a wildfire prone area and you typically get the smoke from wildfires, whether it's close or you're just downwind, you know what the smoke does to your air quality and how fucked up it gets and how it gets into your like HVAC systems. And it's not like you can just keep your doors and windows closed and everything is hunky dory. Like
it just gets all up in there.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I'm sure it's better than the alternative of just huffing everything and
or being on fire.
Yeah, or being on fire. That is, everything is better than being on fire for the most part.
Except maybe drowning.
Except drowning. What's crazy to me is as they're talking about this controlled burn, they're like, you've nothing to worry about. It's better than the alternative of like shrapnel and the cars exploding and like sending debris into nearby neighborhoods. What's crazy is like there's an expert, his name is Eric Olson, that I'm about to quote here. He's a senior strategic director at the environmental advocacy group Natural Resources Defense Council. That's a mouthful. Does not roll off the tongue.
There's got to be like an acronym for that.
NRDC.
Nordic. That's really nice.
Nordic.
I work for the NRDC.
Oh yeah, it does. That does roll off the tongue a little bit
Welcome
more.
to the NRDC.
Yeah, okay. So anyways, Eric Olson said that burning a chemical could increase the radius of exposure. So there's concerns about that regardless of whether it explodes or not. This is a little alarming to me. This is where it gets a little alarming.
This is where it gets a little crazy. Let's go.
So he said, authorities may be trying to reassure people, and they may have more data than I do. I hope they do, about what the exposure levels and wind patterns are. But if it were me, I would not stick around. I would take my family with me and not return until I'm pretty confident the risk has subsided. So here's where things start to, I don't know, skew in my opinion of a cover-up coming.
In fact, I would be so sure I would just leave the state entirely and erase it from my memory.
Never look back to Ohio.
And erase it off my maps and just never go back.
I mean, I think I was just saying that Ohio is kind of a shit state anyways.
Is this your fault?
Maybe
a butterfly
this
flaps its wings
yeah.
around the world and a tsunami forms?
Yeah.
Like, did you do this?
This is maybe me. Maybe.
Hey. We got her.
Yeah.
We got FBI
yeah,
guy.
the FBI
we got
guy.
her. We got her. This is a confession. I've been wearing a wire this whole time.
The whole, almost 9 years we've been together?
The producer is just wires.
Yeah. The executive producer is really
cats,
just a doll.
Just wires.
Just wires. So EPA has been doing readings as of February 11th, so a few days ago. There were about 300 requests for air testing in homes that were received so far. Testing takes like half an hour for each home. There's only 4 teams that are handling it, so they're working like 10-hour days to get it done. But James Justice of the EPA, isn't that like such a James Justice?
That's a comic book name.
It really is. I'm going to look up what James Justice looks like, and if he doesn't look like Clark Kent, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah, if his jawline sucks, just cancel him. Just cancel him. He was on Epstein Island.
Oh, God. Yeah, maybe. Okay. No, we're not going to accuse people of... We're not fucking Elon Musk
Fight me,
here.
coward.
Coward. Like, I don't like this person. They must be a pedophile. All right. So James Justice is part of the EPA. He said last week, it was unlikely there would be any dangerous levels of toxins inside any homes or businesses based on readings from air monitors around the community. And direct quote, due to the location of the derailment, it is improbable that substances from the derailment will impact the groundwater or drinking water wells in the area. They said it's possible some of the chemicals may have spilled into the Sulphur Run, which is a nearby stream that the agency is sampling for contamination. Schools in East Palestine were closed all week, tentatively to reopen this
Some
week.
solid spring break time there.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they were remaining closed last week to deep clean buildings and have HVAC systems inspected. So, I mean, I don't know, man. To me, if you just take the EPA at their word, sounds great. Yeah, sounds good. Nothing to worry about.
Thank goodness we were able to just control all this right away.
Yeah.
Controlling our airspace, controlling our rail system, controlling burns.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
what can't we control?
I was going to say the weather, but
We're getting there.
we're getting there.
Oh, yeah, we're getting there.
For anyone who didn't know this fun fact, I'm not going to say the EPA is full of liars.
You heard it here first, folks.
I will say, I think that there are mistakes that have been made in history from government organizations, maybe we'll put it that way. One example that comes to mind is the EPA on September 18th, 2001, made a blanket statement that the air quality at Ground Zero was safe. At Ground Zero, all the areas impacted around it, they were like, nah, we're good. We're good. You guys are good. There's nothing there. And meanwhile, it was not good. A week after 9/11, the EPA was like, yep, everything is good here.
Back to work.
Yeah, everything is fine. And this is a true story. I'm not making this up. You can go look at EPA's report that came out, I'm not sure how long ago, where they talk about like, yeah, we fucked up. We absolutely fucked up. We didn't have the right or authority or data to say that things were fine.
Source.
Because they
trust
were not.
me, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's interesting. And I also really am struggling with the fact that there's like no fucking oversight happening at this location. You've got Norfolk Southern. Mm-hmm. You've got the first responders who are really just doing whatever they can. So that they're not part of the problem. Yeah. And if anything, they're the ones probably going to get some of the worst of the side effects of this. But I'm just struggling to trust that the EPA is acting independently here.
I'm sure there's an interest point here for themselves. Just back to business. Carry on as usual.
Yeah, I don't know. And part of the reason that I'm struggling with this is for maybe some of the more fucked up parts of the story that some of you may have heard. So there's claims circulating, unverified, verified, however you want to describe it. People's livestock are dying. People's pets are dying. People are letting their dogs out to go take a shit, and then like a couple hours later, their dog is dead. People's entire flocks of chickens have died within like a 10-mile radius of where this accident happened.
I mean, that's extremely concerning.
Yeah. It's like the fucking canary in the mine.
The canary in a coal mine thing. It's more sensitive than humans are. If the canary goes, everyone's got to bail, and it could be too late.
Yeah. I saw something really interesting earlier that was someone giving a recommendation that if you live in this area or anywhere even in a radius that's close by, go to the doctor now, get a baseline health reading, so you can prove like, hey, I am healthy. So assumingly, if you develop side effects from this exposure in the long run,
you can sue the shit
absolutely
out of these people.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a quote from Robert Atkinson, really a tweet, who's an International Brotherhood of Teamsters rep who lives in the area. I'm going to read his whole little tweet thread real quick. Norfolk Southern assures us that the vinyl chloride spilling from the tanks of their derailed train and burning and turning into hydrogen chloride as it rises into the atmosphere and mixes with water vapor, then turning into hydrochloric acid is not dangerous to humans more than 2 miles away. Why would I ever doubt their word? It's not like vinyl chloride in doses more than 1 part per million over an 8-hour period is extremely harmful to humans, and it's not like hundreds of thousands of pounds of resulting toxic acid in the air is bad for humans either.
I'm sensing a bit of sarcasm in that.
Yeah, just a little bit. There's
Just
a lot
a
of caps in there that y'all can't.
Ooh, yeah, I didn't catch any of those caps. You gotta.
Yeah. So there's a woman who posted a video of her chickens just straight up fucking dead in North Lima, Ohio. The link to this, if you want to watch the video, is in the show notes. It's a Reddit link to the crazy fucking video subreddit. So this woman lives like 10 miles away from the accident. Her name's Amanda. So she's talking to a local news station, and she said her eyes watered when she went outside. Her chickens were fine the day before. And then I think in the video, like all these fucking chickens are just
right.
dead.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Also, there was a reporter for News Nation who was arrested during the news event maybe earlier this week. I'm like losing track of time. Must have potentially been over the weekend, where the governor had discussed the evacuation orders being lifted, and people were like, wait a second, like that's not kosher. You're gonna have people come back to this potentially toxic wasteland and you're just okay with that. And so now with that journalist being arrested, all of the news of the environmental concerns being kind of swept under the rug, people are concerned that this is becoming an environmental disaster, like cover up in the making. I am 100% like certain that it is.
It's like HBO is going to have American Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Down the line.
And like we try not to get very political on this podcast. But I will say there's definitely political motivations for why some of this could potentially be swept under the rug. So one of them that I already mentioned is that there's a really big rail strike that was threatened in late 2022. And the Biden administration played a large hand in trying to
squash it, right?
Yeah, squash the rail strike because it would lead to economic disaster. And in reality, it's not like these railway workers were looking to make as much as the fucking CEO. They were just looking to stop having trains be considerably understaffed, like they have been doing, to implement more safety regulations, and better benefits and things like that. Like, I don't know, getting time off to go see a fucking doctor when you need to and not schedule it 3 months in advance. But yeah, so the Biden administration did play a really large role in trying to facilitate those conversations and prevent them from being able to strike. I think there have been recent updates. I meant to look on where the status of those things were, but yeah, so that's one potential thing and why it doesn't maybe exactly look great that this is happening so close to that.
Yeah, I think I might have heard on the radio this morning that they can use sick days or personal days for something or the other. You know, there's a little bit more flexibility in it where they can take like the day of off should they need it.
Yeah, and that wasn't the case before.
Which is crazy.
If you took a day off, you could risk being fired. So that's cool. Yeah, so Norfolk Southern was one of the companies at the heart of those strikes last year, or attempted strikes, threatened strikes, if you want to call it that. At the point of which we were recording this podcast and I was doing my research earlier this week, I wasn't able to access the Norfolk Southern reportings on their site, so their financial reports. It was giving an error. So here's what I could find for the 2022 reports. The first one, railway operating revenues were a record $12.7 billion in 2022, up 14% or $1.6 billion compared with 2021, driven by an 18% increase revenue per unit. Railway operating expenses were $7.9 billion, an increase of 19% with the same period last year, driven by higher fuel prices, inflation, network congestion, and higher compensation and benefits. Income from railway operations was $4.8 billion, up 8%, or $362 million year over year, which was an annual record. Okay. Think about how fucking crazy that money is. Income was $4.8 billion. How much do you think, pop quiz, Norfolk Southern announced that it would be giving East Palestine to help with some of these like cleanup efforts and like housing of folks who are unhoused now?
Yeah, lucky you asked me because this is my strong suit, actually, numbers. Let's say like $5,000.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Pretty close. The $25,000.
Hey,
for residents affected.
Reasonably close. Great.
And this is a company with a market capitalization of like nearly $60 billion. Also has been providing Wall Street investors with like billions in profits. So that's pretty nice. What's kind of crazy is, yes, a lot of this seems like it's a direct result of these companies trying to push for greater and greater profits. I read some crazy stat. It was like there's 5 rail accidents per day in the U.S., which I would be very curious to look at the statistics from a country that has a broader rail network than we do and see how that compares. But like a typical year has like over 1,000 derailments. Which seems extraordinarily high to me.
That seems like a ton.
Yeah.
Also, like I never hear about them. You'd think maybe it's like, oh, some jackalope parked his car on the tracks that they're trying to get through.
Yeah, stupid people. Yeah, I think we probably really only hear about the ones where either like a passenger or somebody has died as a result, or ones like the one in East Ohio from earlier this month where it's like, I don't know, like a fucking toxic wasteland now.
Didn't something just happen in Texas?
Oh yeah, there was a derailment in Houston yesterday, potentially, maybe Sunday this week. And there were like chemicals on board. But from my understanding, there were chemicals that were like more household cleaner type ones, like
Windex.
Like your Fabuloso, like fucking spilled all over Houston.
A giant train car of
like
Windex.
Pine Sol and your
Mr. Clean.
Yeah, your Mr. Clean and actually your Fabuloso. The only reason that's top of mind is there's a recall for it right now because of a bacteria that could make you sick. So check your Fabuloso bottle.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when I had mentioned that the rail companies are looking to potentially understaff these trains, part of the way that they're trying to do that is by increasing the size and weight of trains. They're like using advanced computer programming to increase the number and frequency of trains on tracks. So things maybe seem a little bit more efficient. But as we had mentioned, a lot of fucking derailments. And also something that's interesting, I don't have the exact notes in front of me, and I wish that I did. But it just came out, or was just pointed out, that the Trump administration rolled back an Obama administration like rule about train braking, specifically meant to prevent things like this from happening. So it required trains to have specific kinds of brakes to prevent fucking derailments like this from happening.
Huh.
Apparently the Trump administration rolled it back because it was not business friendly. So
Right, yeah. Oh, you mean we might lose some money because you're slowing down because you need to? Nah.
Yeah. And I know it may seem we lean one way or the other on this podcast. But I will say at the end of the day, most politicians don't have your best interest in mind. It's all about capitalism, baby.
That's the way the
it's
cookie
all a fucking
crumbles.
club, and we're not in it. We're not in it. So from this train derailment specifically, a lot of the early reports said that there was a mechanical failure with one of the axles. And so the crew had to pull the emergency brake, but the brake didn't actually stop the train. It still just fucking crashed. So that's great. And that's why there were so many evacuations, and the other piece that is interesting about this is Norfolk Southern, as much as it talks about, They're modern and electronic braking systems. They have so many improvements over their old systems. They resisted braking regulations at every fucking turn. So that's kind of where the braking regulations from the Obama to the Trump administration and then the rollbacks come into play. So the company, Norfolk Southern, lobbied for lighter regulations on train safety and specifically pushed for a narrow definition of high hazard trains. And the Ohio cars, full of hazardous chemicals, did not meet that narrow definition. Isn't that fucking crazy?
It's like, how dare the government tell me that I can't drink 5 beers while I'm driving my Ford F-150? That sounds like you telling me what to do.
Next thing you know, they're going to tell you can't put nuts on your truck.
Oh, that's when the Civil War happens. Civil War round 2.
Yeah, and it's this is kind of the last piece that I have there, but Norfolk Southern was fully aware of how ineffective the old brakes were when compared to the competitors that they have, and they still resisted any push to actually use the electronic brakes on high-risk trains. They spent millions of dollars lobbying against it. So
it's just like,
yeah,
it's cheaper to to have a crash for them. I was like, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, it's like companies who decide to just pay the fucking fine for illegal dumping. Yeah, because it's cheaper to pay the fine than it is to
fix what you're doing.
Yep. So that's today's episode, and maybe we'll do a follow-up episode of 20 to 30 years of how people are faring health-wise. But what I really think should happen is all the fucking CEOs, everybody from the EPA who's saying that the area is fine to live in, should go live in a fucking hotel in this area with their families, their family pets.
And their chickens.
I want them to live there for, I don't know, 3-10 years, even a month.
I was just like 3 weeks, but okay, yeah, go off.
Even a
Off.
month.
No, 10 years. Go off.
Go live at a fucking hotel where you don't have professional HVAC systems. I want you to have something that's probably more along the standard lines of what these people in East Palestine have. And yeah, tell me how you fucking feel. Go drink the water where all the fucking fish are coming up dead, and tell me that you feel safe living there. And you would raise your kids there. So I'm going to bite my tongue because I'm about to get really fuck these corporations. Ooh. But no, that's not what we're here for. Just conspiracies.
And this is one of them.
This is definitely one of them. This is a cover up in the making.
Of all the conspiracies we've had, this is one of them.
Originally, I thought all this shit happening with the balloons was just to detract.
It was a distraction
from what was happening here. And I mean, to be honest, to my knowledge, it's February 14th. I don't think Joe Biden has publicly talked about this train derailment yet. I could be wrong, but when I looked yesterday, I did not see anything.
Me neither, because you're my news source. So
okay, great. Thank you. All right. Well, that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Take care of yourself.
Next week, we'll either talk about, I don't know, Jeffrey Epstein George
Island,
Santos.
UFOs.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where do we begin?
Yeah, where do we start? This is a conspiracy theorist.
It's a buffet.
Wet dream.
This is a buffet. Yes, truly is.
All right, well, have a great week, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.